Talking Review, print speaking to the blind, celebrating 40 years of audio newspaper production. Welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast, recorded at the Bishop Briggs Media Centre by our amazing volunteers. You can get in touch with us via Facebook, Twitter or Instagram using @QNReview. That is @ CUEANDREVIEW. You can also contact us directly by emailing information@QNreview.com. That is INFORMATION @CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling 0141 772 3976. That's 0141 772 3976.
From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 28th of May, from the news section: Don't weaken abortion protest buffer zone bill. Report by Stuart Patterson. The MSP responsible for the abortion protest buffer zone bill has warned against any attempt to weaken it. Gillian Mackay, Green MSP's Safe Access Zones bill, is being considered at Holyrood by the Health Committee today. Mackay said she will oppose any attempt to weaken the proposals that would ban protests or vigils within 200 metres of healthcare facilities. The bill passed Stage 1 and going through Stage 2, where amendments from MSPs will be discussed and voted on by the committee. Mackay, who will be speaking for and against amendments, has urged the committee to ensure the bill is as robust as possible and that there are no loopholes or exemptions that would allow protests to continue. She said, "We are at a crucial point in terms of introducing my bill and ending the terrible harassment we have seen outside hospitals and abortion service providers all across our country. It is really important that we make this the most robust bill it can be, and I am happy to meet with any MSP and to support any constructive amendments that will strengthen it and ensure greater protections. I will oppose any proposals that will create loopholes and exemptions or allow the protest to continue. That's not what I want from the bill, and it would be a betrayal of everyone who had passed the gauntlet of protesters to access healthcare." She said the aim is to ensure everyone has safe access to healthcare they are entitled to. The MSP added she hoped the cross-party support the bill has enjoyed will continue. The bill would ban the protests seen outside the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital and the Sandyford Clinic on Sauchiehall Street, and forced them to move from outside the premises. Mackay added, "I am grateful to everyone who has done so much to get us this far, especially to people who shared very difficult stories with me, in the hope that nobody else will have to endure what they did." And that article was written by Stuart Patterson. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 24th of May, from the news section: My girl died at 18 and now I want to stop others suffering. Report by Kirsty Feerick. A mum has opened up about how she plans to stop others dying like her daughter did. Donna Sinclair has spoken out on the anniversary of Kaya Imani Chambers, who suddenly died last year, leaving her heartbroken. We previously reported how the 18-year-old passed away after a short battle with cancer, which her family believe could have been caught sooner. Now her 57-year-old mum, from Newlands, is determined to use her grief to save lives by launching the Kaya Foundation, which will fast-track medical scans. Donna recently got the charity registered and is already offering scans for people stuck on long NHS waiting lists, including one single mum who was found to have a cyst the size of a grapefruit. Donna said, "It has been a weird week for me in the lead up to Kaya's anniversary. It is really emotional. I feel like she was just in the hospital yesterday, but what has been achieved since last year is incredible. We have got Kaya's Foundation registered as an official charity now, so we can help people. I want to make sure people get the scans they need as early as possible so they can go on to make the full recovery that Kaya couldn't. The waiting list can be very long, so our charity would fast track and pay for MRI scans that can catch cancer. All we can do is try. One of the scans we offered found a grapefruit-sized cyst on a single mum's ovaries. We are hoping she can get support for that now. We previously reported how Kaya had developed stomach problems and a cough around February last year and went to her GP several times for help. The promising Strathclyde University student was given antibiotics and ultrasounds which failed to help, before finally being given a blood test which raised alarm bells. Scans then showed she had cancer which is believed to have started in her kidneys before spreading to her lungs and bones. Despite the devastating diagnosis, Kaya didn't shed a single tear and went on to comfort friends and family with jokes. Now they want to remember her fun spirit with a special birthday carnival, which will mark what should have been her 20th birthday next month. The event will take place at the Shed on Sunday, June 16, with live performances and a fashion show. Special guests will include David Whitelaw and Lawrence Spiteri, along with a DJ from 7 p.m. Donna said, "I wanted to do something age appropriate that Kaya would have enjoyed herself. We're going to have a fashion show and music performers, so it should be a really fun night. Tickets are £10 and will go towards the charity. Hopefully the event can help raise awareness and we can keep helping people." An article was written by Kirsty Feerick. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 28th of May, from the news section, City reacts to National Service Plan. Report by Morgan Carmichael. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak made headlines over the weekend after announcing plans to introduce a form of national service if the Tories win the general election on July the 4th. If voted back in, it would mean 18-year-olds across the UK would be given a choice between a full-time placement in the armed forces for 12 months or spending one weekend a month for a year volunteering in their community. While Sunak claimed the radical measure would help unite society in an increasingly uncertain world, we took to the streets of Glasgow to find out what people think. Ted McDade, 19, from the city centre said, "You just can't do this type of thing now, can you? Heaney's gone, and he will be gone, so it's fine." Ephraim David, 28, from the outskirts of Glasgow, shared the same sentiment. He said, "You can't exactly force somebody to do something they don't want to do. How many folk would want their kids to be in the armed forces and with volunteering, you don't get paid for it? I think this will backfire on Rishi, and I think it will lead people to people voting Labour." Rosie Murray, 28, from the east end of the city, said she thought the idea was gross as hell. She continued, "I'm a big opposer of the military in general. I don't like the idea of fighting for your country, but you don't get any say in what that actually looks like. And for it to become something that is becoming mandatory, I think that is gross as hell. For it to be something you don't get any say whatsoever is frankly something I thought we had all outgrown as individuals." Moira Morrison, 74, from Greenock, said she was opposed to the idea due to the close bond she has with her grandsons. She said, "I've got grandsons and I don't want to see them get taken away for issues that are of no concern to them. Rishi is just going a bit over the top. I think this seriously should make people reconsider voting for the Tories. I think the Conservatives have had their time. I don't even know who I would vote for now." However, Michael Whitehouse, 65, from Alf, could see benefits with the initiative. He said, "The armed forces are rather in need of recruitment now, I think. What form that should take, I don't know. But I do think the idea of national service will stand people in good stead with the discipline and skills learned from it. I also think the idea of those working in the community once a month has its benefits, but I would need to know more about Rishi's plans for it, I think." Margaret Dawson, 61, from Aberdeenshire, said she was dead against the idea. She said, "I'm absolutely shocked. I've never voted Labour before, but I will be now just to keep the Tories out because I don't agree with this. They should never have cut the forces down because now they're relying on young lads. My own grandson is going to be doing an apprenticeship. Does that mean he'll have to be taken away from it to do national service? I'm dead against it, and I think a lot of people will be too. National service ended gradually in the UK from 1957. Between 1949 and 1963, more than 2 million men were conscripted to the British Army, Royal Navy or Royal Air Force. And the article was written by Morgan Carmichael and read by me, Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 24th of May, from the news section. Gang enforcer carried out 7 weeks of mayhem. This article is unattributed. A gangland enforcer who was the hired muscle for a ruthless crime mob has been jailed for 16 years. Ross Al-Galani doled out horrific violence, including a murder bid on a former clan member who ended up having his leg amputated. Another victim was filmed being held hostage, stripped, tortured, beaten with a baseball bat and struck with a machete. Al-Galani's own lawyer described the sickening violence as 7 weeks of mayhem. The 36-year-old thug was yesterday sentenced at the High Court in Glasgow, having pleaded guilty to the attacks. A judge branded what he did as sadistic. Prosecutor John McElroy KC told the hearing, Al-Galani is assessed to be a criminal enforcer used by persons to carry out attacks in relation to drugs, money and personal vengeance. The first target was James Sheridan, once a member of a crime gang who ended up being jailed for being caught with cannabis and £104,000 of dirty cash. Mr. McElroy said, while he was behind bars, Sheridan made it clear he wanted out of the mob, but the gang boss blamed him for the drugs and cash being lost. Mr. McElroy said an instruction was issued that he should be assaulted. Clan members then lay in wait as Sheridan was released early from his jail term at HMP Low Moss on May the 16th last year. He was tailed to a property in Coatbridge, Lanarkshire. Later that day, Al-Galani and others then booted their way through the front door. Sheridan was found in a bedroom with Samantha Cook. Mr. McElroy said, the perpetrators proceeded to assault both using what has been described as machetes and swords. The gang fled the bloodbath as Miss Cook managed to dial 999. The court heard Sheridan suffered horrific injuries to his head, arms and legs. Medics initially feared he would not survive. The wounds were so severe it was decided to amputate his right leg from above the knee. He also lost 2 fingers from the attack. Miss Cook required extensive surgery herself. She also had 2 fingers severed from her right hand. Attempts were made to reattach them, but she eventually had to have them amputated. A video clip emerged soon after the incident of a heavily bandaged Sheridan lying in his hospital bed. The footage, shared on social media, saw him taunting his attackers by stating, "Take the fingers, take the leg, but you will not take my life, you F asterisk 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 ing bunch of dafties." Al-Galani's next target meantime was Scott McCrann, who owed the crime mob £19,000. His ordeal began last June the 14th after Al-Galani picked him up and drove him to a house in Wishaw, Lanarkshire. Mr. McElroy said, on arrival, McCrann was instructed to strip to only his boxer shorts. His hands and legs were tied together. Al-Galani then repeatedly smacked the humiliated man with a baseball bat. While being held captive over the next 2 days, McCrann reckoned he was hit with the weapon 100 times. The advocate depute went on to state, he was also forced to place his hand on a cooker, and Al-Galani proceeded to strike his left hand on 3 or 4 occasions with a machete. The horror attacks were filmed by another individual. The grim footage of it was played in court. Al-Galani called relatives of McCrann to pay the debt before he was allowed to finally leave. But, around a week later, Al-Galani ordered McCann to meet him, and he was again driven to Wishaw. He was told once more to take off his clothes before being shot around 20 times with a pistol, hit with a baseball bat and punched. The court heard he needed surgery following both attacks, including for damage to his hand and having pellets removed from his body, having been shot. Al-Galani finally turned up at a house a couple were living at in Helensburgh, Argyll and Bute on July the 4th last year. The woman, who it is believed Al Glennie did not know, was at the property in the early hours when she found the thug in the kitchen clutching what appeared to be a police baton. He went on to strike her twice with the weapon as she desperately tried to defend herself. Mr. McElroy said, "It is her opinion that Al Glennie ran off due to the fact her dog was giving attention to his left leg." The woman suffered significant tendon damage to her left hand, which she continues to struggle with. Al Glennie pleaded guilty to attempting to murder Sheridan and assaulting Miss Cook to her severe injury, permanent disfigurement, and impairment. He also admitted to 2 charges of the latter crime in connection with McCrann, which included extorting the £19,000. Al Glennie further pleaded guilty to assaulting the final victim to her severe injury and permanent disfigurement. The court heard yesterday how Al Glennie was a trained mechanic with a limited criminal record, making it stranger to understand he was involved in such serious violence. Lady Stacey said the jail term would have been 18 years for carrying out the various atrocities, but for the guilty pleas. Al Glennie will be supervised for a further 3 years on his release. And the article was by a court reporter. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 27th of May, from the news section. Man sent intimate pictures of his ex to her contacts list. Report by Connor Gordon. An angry man sent intimate pictures of his partner to all the contacts on her mobile phone. Ian Carmichael, 46, carried out the sick act in August 2022 from his home in Rutherglen, Lanarkshire. Carmichael also called the woman names, put her down, and controlled her during their relationship. Carmichael was enraged after the end of the relationship when the woman admitted to having an affair. He took her mobile phone and sent the images to all 300 contacts on her phone, including friends and her boss at work. Carmichael was found guilty at Glasgow Sheriff Court of engaging in behaviour which was abusive of his partner or ex-partner. The court heard from the woman, who stated she was unhappy in the relationship with the currently suspended Glasgow's Emirates Arena manager Carmichael. Prosecutor Lauren Donnelly told jurors in her closing speech, she said he put her down, calling her names and described feeling controlled by him. She tearfully told you, I know it's not right, but I was having an affair. I'm not justifying it, but I was in an abusive relationship and it was more of an emotional thing. Jurors also heard that Carmichael turned up at her home and did not accept that she ended the relationship. It was stated that Carmichael had taken her phone and she had gone to his place of work to get it back. The court was told the woman took a set of Carmichael's car keys and wanted a trade for her phone back. The court was told friends and family later contacted the woman and reported receiving strange messages from her. Miss Donnelly said they received the same naked pictures of her and messages. She later became aware other people had received them too. She told you the impact this had on her. She described how around 300 people on her contact list had received the messages, including her boss. One witness described receiving a naked picture of the woman with the text, "You said she never cheated on me." The witness stated she called the number and Carmichael answered the phone. Another friend recalled that she received a message from the woman saying, "I am scared." The friend claimed she later received a message from the woman's phone stating, "F*** off, you two-faced cow," believed to have been written by Carmichael. Sentence was deferred pending background reports by Sheriff Gerard Bonner until July. And the article was written by Connor Gordon. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 28th of May, from the news section. Man shares recovery story after becoming homeless. This article is an exclusive by Esder Tarnai. A man who was pushed into homelessness by alcohol addiction said he was lucky to be able to turn his life around. Tony Singh came to Glasgow nearly 5 years ago, looking for help after he turned to drinking following his wife's death. As part of our ongoing investigation into alcohol and the justice system, he agreed to share his experience. At his most vulnerable, he slept rough in the city centre for a week. He said, "I never thought I would be in that position. I hit rock bottom, and there was no way I could sleep on the streets sober. I was there, not having eaten in 2 days, and was going through withdrawal. I was thinking, how the hell am I going to drink? That was number one. I thought about crime. I would think about maybe going into a huge supermarket, putting a bottle down my jacket or down my pants, but I never did. I was very lucky that I had support from my family. A lot of people don't have that." The 40-year-old's life changed drastically when he met a kind-hearted woman. He said, "She was from the Simon community. They're a wonderful charity helping people with addiction. She took me to Shelter Scotland, who got me a lawyer who helped me to get me into the St Enoch Hotel. The worst thing about it was that it was just full of drug addicts and alcoholics. I was told by the volunteers, whatever you do, just try not to drink. They referred me to Alcoholics Anonymous. Those meetings saved my life. I was resorting to alcohol because of depression and trauma. Now, I'm in a much better place, with a job and a home." The Knightsbridge resident said his recovery journey is the hardest thing he has ever done. He added, "I used to drink hard liquor and I would drink half a bottle straight up just to function normally. Coming off alcohol is not a nice feeling. It's dangerous as well. You have to do it slowly. I had the shakes, sweats. I couldn't eat or sleep. I had all these symptoms. That was the toughest part. I'm one of the few who's actually gone through the system and it worked. Thanks to several helping hands, he's now in recovery and encourages others going through similar issues to reach out for help." He said, "I think there's plenty of help. I truly believe that." And that article was an exclusive by Esther Tarnay. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 28th of May, from the news section. Man was stabbed in broad daylight. This article is unattributed. A man was rushed to hospital after being stabbed in broad daylight. Police say the incident took place shortly after 12 p.m. on May the 26th in the Gartley Road area of Airdrie. Emergency crews raced to the scene after being made aware of an assault. It is understood a man was stabbed during the ordeal. Following this, he was taken to hospital. However, his current condition is unknown. An investigation into the shocking attack is underway. A spokesperson for Police Scotland said, around 12:35 p.m. on Sunday, May the 26th, we were called to reports of an assault in the Gartley Road area of Airdrie. Emergency services attended and a man was taken to hospital. Inquiries remain ongoing to establish the full circumstances. And the article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 24th of May, from the news section. MSP accused of prejudice against Matheson by First Minister. Report by Stuart Patterson. John Swinney has accused a Glasgow MSP of prejudice over her role in imposing sanctions on Michael Matheson over his roaming charges bill. The Scottish Parliament's Standards, Procedures and Public Appointments Committee recommended Matheson be suspended from Holyrood for 27 days and lose 54 days of salary. But the First Minister said the process had not been prejudiced and he would not be supporting the sanction. Swinney said Annie Wells, Glasgow Conservative MSP, who was on the committee, should have removed herself from the process. The First Minister, during a heated exchange with Conservative leader Douglas Ross, said Matheson had paid back the money and he lost his job as Health Secretary. He said, because Annie Wells had previously made remarks about the case, she should have recused herself from the committee investigation. Swinney said, as I consider the findings from the Standards, Procedures and Public Appointments Committee, I have significant concern. I believe this process has been prejudiced. He added, Annie Wells said that Michael Matheson's, and I quote, desperate efforts to justify his outrageous expenses claim have been riddled with lies, cover-ups, and the need for all to suspend our disbelief. He said Stephen Kerr, also a Conservative MSP, had recused himself, as he had also commented and admitted he could not be objective. Swinney said, "If a constituent came to me and said that they were about to face a disciplinary panel at work and one of the panel members had made a prejudicial comments about them, I would have come down on that employer like a ton of bricks. That is the situation that Michael Matheson faces here, and that is why I will not support the sanction." Ross said the First Minister's comment was incredible and indefensible. He said, "Michael Matheson misled the public, misled the press and misled the Parliament. He expected the taxpayers of Scotland to pay £11,000 for a bill that he had racked up." Mentioning the other committee members, he said, "It was not Annie Wells, Oliver Mundell, Martin Whitfield, Jackie Dunbar or Alistair Allen who found Michael Matheson guilty. It was the Scottish Parliament corporate body, which is comprised of members from across the chamber." Ross then said other people would be out of a job had they been found to have acted in the way Matheson did. He added, "Shockingly, John Swinney is standing here today defending the indefensible. MSPs must be honest. Michael Matheson was not. MSPs must act with integrity. Michael Matheson did not. MSPs must be trusted by the public. Michael Matheson is not. He is to be banned from this Parliament for a few weeks, but in the real world, he would have lost his job for what he did and what he claimed." And the article was written by Stuart Patterson and read by me, Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 27th of May, from the news section, police make number of arrests at Hampden. This article is unattributed. The number of arrests made by police at the Rangers v Celtic Scottish Cup final game in Glasgow has been revealed. Police Scotland has said 8 arrests were made in connection with alleged minor disorder offences at the match at Hampden Park on Saturday, May 25th. The force says a 25-year-old man has been charged and released on an undertaking, while 3 men, aged 19, 25 and 28, and a 17-year-old boy will be reported to the Procurator Fiscal. On top of that, a 47-year-old man was also handed a fixed penalty notice. Officers also say 2 15-year-old youths were arrested and left in the care of their families. Meanwhile, 2 women, aged 50 and 51, were given recorded police warnings. Chief Superintendent Stevie Dolan said, "There was no significant disorder, and I would like to thank the majority of fans for their conduct throughout the day. Working with partner agencies, we provided a proportionate policing plan to ensure a safe and enjoyable experience for those in and around the city." And that article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 27th of May, from the news section, probe launched after man dies in city centre. This article is unattributed. A probe has been launched after a man died in Glasgow city centre. Police confirmed that a man was reported to be seriously injured on William Street at around 11:50 p.m. on Friday night. Emergency services attended, but the man was pronounced dead at the scene. The death has been treated as unexplained and inquiries are ongoing to establish the full circumstances. A Police Scotland spokesperson said, "Police received a report of a man having been found seriously injured in the William Street area of Glasgow around 11:50 p.m. on Friday, May the 24th. Emergency services attended. However, the man was pronounced dead at the scene. The death has been treated as unexplained and inquiries are ongoing to establish the full circumstances." And the article was unattributed and it was read by me, Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 28th of May, from the news section, School earns praise. Report by Anne Fotheringham. Inspectors have praised a Bellhill school following a recent visit. The Education Scotland team said children at Longmuir Primary are learning in a nurturing environment and added, "They are polite, kind, caring and ensure everyone is included in their school." Inspectors also praised the teachers for their effective use of digital technology to engage children in their learning, which is enhancing children's experiences across all areas of their learning. The report added, the head teacher and staff place a strong priority on children's well-being, which is leading to improved outcomes. They demonstrate a strong desire to continue to improve approaches learning and teaching. Tracy Hurst, Lawmere Primary's head teacher, said, we are delighted with this report, which highlights the strong collegiate working ethos that exists across our school community, and I'd like to thank all the pupils, parents and staff for what we have achieved together. She added, being recognised as a school which is improving outcomes for children is due to our strong focus on children's well-being and the focus we've had on our improvement priorities. As a school community, we have a renewed focus in building on our existing effective practice to provide appropriate support and challenging for all our learners. Councillor Michael McBride, North Lanarkshire Council's Education Convener, said, I know that the entire school community at Lawmere will be delighted with this positive inspection report, which reflects everyone's commitment to providing children with a supporting and nurturing environment to learn. Inspectors outlined 3 areas for improvement, which were identified and discussed with the head teacher and a representative from North Lanarkshire Council. The report said, the leadership team now need to develop and embed a more strategic approach to improving outcomes from children across school. To support this, the head teacher should review the roles, responsibilities and remits of promoted staff. It also noted the school should build on existing effective practice and plan learning across the school that provides appropriate support and challenge for all learners and ensure all children make the best possible progress in their learning, alongside continuing to raise attainment in reading, writing, numeracy and mathematics. The full report is available on the Education Scotland website, and that article was written by Anne Fotheringham. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 28th of May, from the news section. It's like hitting my head off a brick wall. Taxi driver reveals issues he's encountered while trying to retrofit vehicle. This article is an exclusive by Morgan Carmichael. A Glasgow taxi driver has said applying for funding to make his cab LEZ compliant has been like hitting his head off a brick wall. Joseph Lafferty, 64, has been a cabbie in the city for more than 23 years, but the Parkhead man has found the process to get his cab retrofitted to become a Euro 6 engine has been long and troublesome. It comes as taxi drivers have been tasked with either paying the full amount up front for the retrofit, which usually costs between £6,000 and £15,000, or applying for the Low Emission Zone (LEZ) retrofit fund, which is provided by Transport Scotland and delivered by Energy Savings Trust, which can help towards costs. Having claimed he began the application process back in January, Joseph's application was only officially accepted this month, just weeks before the June the 1st deadline for the time-limited extension for taxi drivers. Joseph told the Glasgow Times, the process has felt like hitting my head off a brick wall. It's been a nightmare. I feel like I'm one guy trying to fight a big body and I'm just up against it. I am just a guy trying to earn a living and support my family. With the Energy Saving Trust, the process has been like jumping hurdles. I'm not very literate with the computer, so my pal has had to help me with all the documents, and that's caused a lot of issues for Energy Saving Trust. I phoned them and asked if I could sit there with someone and sort it out, because I was really anxious I wouldn't meet the deadline because they had absolutely no urgency. It was threatening my livelihood. I just want to make a living and serve the public. I don't think I'm expecting a lot. I'm not asking for the world. Energy Saving Trust said it is concerned by customers' ill experience with the application process. A spokesperson said, our advisors remain in regular contact with applicants throughout the application process and ensure that the high volume of eligible candidates we work with are served. While we're not able to comment on individual cases, it's concerning to hear of any applicant that doesn't feel happy with their customer experience. We are committed to maintaining our due diligence commitments and would encourage any applicant who feels this way to get in touch with us via lezfund so that we can resolve any outstanding issues as quickly as possible. Aside from problems with Energy Savings Trust, Joseph also believes there are issues with two other things: the fact that grants are given on a first come, first served basis, and that there are time limits on applying for a grant. He added, "The point in the extensions was to give us more time to find money for the grant, and they're just introducing time limits which just don't work. I don't see why they can't give us time to get our savings together. They have to remember that we didn't earn money in COVID, and we've been trying to build up since then. Now we have this threat, and this is unfair. Everyone wants clean air. Of course we do. But the infrastructure to enforce that has been perfect, and it just isn't." Joseph claims he has consistently complied with LEZ after making his vehicle a Euro 4 exhaust and then purchasing a new cab at £15,000 to make his vehicle Euro 5. He added, "I went into debt to help Glasgow City Council and the LEZ. They ought to hang their heads in shame, because putting this pressure on taxi drivers is just shocking." Joseph has now managed to get his grant accepted and has until October to have his vehicle retrofitted in England, as only one place in Glasgow offers the service, and it is only to vans, something that Joseph also pointed out as problematic. However, with the backlogs to get the retrofits, Joseph still feels his livelihood is under threat. Conservative councillor John Daly, who has been working closely with Joseph, said the cabbie has been left very distressed throughout the process. He continued, "It's been weeks and weeks of Joseph speaking to departments in Glasgow City Council and the Energy Saving Trust, which has been weeks and weeks of months of worry for him. He has 5 months to pay a £1,000 deposit and get retrofitted. He's sort of been put through the mill here, and we're hearing tales like this across the city. He is willing to comply with legislation and has consistently proven that, yet he has found himself on the rough side. Of course, clean air is important, but well-meaning legislation should not have a bad impact." A spokesperson for Glasgow City Council said, "After receiving confirmation from the Energy Saving Trust on Wednesday that Mr Lafferty's grant application has been approved, we contacted him that same day to advise that his LEZ exemption will be extended until the end of October. We have consistently encouraged eligible operators to take advantage of Scottish Government funding towards cleaner, new vehicles or to retrofit existing vehicles, with £2.4 million paid in retrofit grants since 2019 for taxis in our region. Eligible operators were also granted an exemption from the scheme's first year of operation, and we will show further flexibilities beyond this point for operators who can show they are actively taking steps to meet the cleaner LEZ standards. To equitably balance the health and environmental benefits of Glasgow's LEZ, whilst continuing to support taxi operators, where an exemption is extended beyond the end of May, it will be for the shortest period possible." And that article was an exclusive by Morgan Carmichael. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 27th of May, from the news section, 3 charged after £1.35 million worth of drugs seized. This report is unattributed. 3 men have been arrested and charged after drugs with a street value of around £1.35 million were allegedly recovered in Glasgow. We reported that 3 men were arrested after police were called to a property in Chester Road in the north of Glasgow just after 6 p.m. on Thursday. There, a significant quantity of cocaine, as well as other drug-related equipment, was discovered according to the force. The men, aged 29, 32 and 41, were arrested and charged in connection. They are due to appear at the Glasgow Sheriff Court on Monday, May the 27th, and the report will be submitted to the Procurator Fiscal. Detective Superintendent Stephen Elliott of Police Scotland's Organised Crime and Counter-Terrorism Unit said, "I'd like to thank the community for their continued support and information, which helps us remove illegal, harmful substances from our streets. This investigation underlines our commitment to the Serious Organised Crime Task Force and the country's serious organised crime strategy. We are committed to tackling the supply and distribution of drugs and will continue to work with the partner agencies to make our communities safer. Anyone who has information or concerns about the sale and supply of drugs is urged to contact Police Scotland via 101. Alternatively, if you'd prefer to remain anonymous, call Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. And that article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 28th of May, from the news section, Waste Centre could heat Hampden Park. Article written by Drew Sandilands. A waste centre at Palmady could provide heat to Hampden Park, a hospital, homes and schools, a study has found. Plans for a heat network using the Glasgow Recycling and Renewable Energy Centre, GRREC, on Palmady Road could make substantial inroads into reducing carbon emissions in the area. A feasibility study found a network is technically and economically viable, council officials have reported. They added the proposal is commercially attractive enough to engage the private sector's interest. It could cost around £24 million to build out the network. The report added carbon emissions analysis suggested an 81% reduction is achievable through development of the network relative to the continued operation of existing heating systems. These savings are estimated with gas boiler backup over a 40-year assessment period. A council spokesperson said, "How we heat our homes and other buildings is one of the big challenges we face as the city tackles the causes of climate change. District heat networks are technically and economically viable in locations across the city." A council report stated, energy from waste is a source of heat that's recognised as being relatively low cost in comparison to other low carbon heat sources, and this can act as a catalyst for heat network development if there is a high heat demand density in the local area. It added, a potential benefit to the GRREC is that heat generation from the waste resource is significantly more efficient than electrical generation. Therefore, heat supplied to a network could significantly improve the overall energy efficiency of the facility. An image included in the report shows a piped network linked to the Hampden Park, the New Victoria Hospital, Langside Library, Holyrood Secondary School, Cathcart Police Station, Tory Glen Regional Football Centre, Glasgow Clyde College, Mount Florida Primary School and 2 blocks of flats. Council officials added there is good alignment between the specific heat source that GRREC considered and the demand identified within the core cluster. The spokesperson said, the possibility of a district heating network sourced from the GRREC can also help to attract inward investment and create the infrastructure that can support the push for net zero. The GRREC produces reliable heat, and this study shows investors should be confident of a return on any investment. We are at an early stage with this initiative, but we have grounds for optimism that using energy from waste to heat homes and other buildings is realistic and achievable. And that article was written by Drew Sandilands. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 28th of May, from the news section, homely new pub revealed by Rebecca Newlands. A homely new gastropub like a second living room has opened in the heart of Glasgow's south side. The Torresdale Tavern is located in the city's Strathbungo and offers classic pub dishes, small plates, brunch, Sunday roasts and a range of drinks. Sports fans will get their fix with 6 large screens and a projector to show all the major games. Aiming to serve quality food at affordable prices, the venue has 60 covers and has been designed to make punters feel relaxed and comfortable as if they are chilling at home. A total of 21 staff have been employed. General Manager Gavin Clark said, "We are absolutely delighted to be bringing the Torresdale Tavern to the Strathbungo area, serving up hearty food, tasty wine and a great selection of beer and cocktails. We have worked hard to get the feel just right down to the colour of the booths, the food we serve, and the beautiful wine glasses to stamp our mark as the newest gastropub in the area. Whether guests are in for a local homely meal a catch up over a wee drink, or looking to try some of our unique beers, we will be everyone's second living room with warm and friendly service and lots of character. Heading up the kitchen will be head chef Deborah Nielsen, who has worked in numerous kitchens over the years. She said, "I am a local myself and have seen Strathbungo on the rise for many years now. Having worked in all different kitchens over the past decade, I have been given the opportunity to open my very first kitchen to deliver. Over and above our everyday menu, we will also be serving brunch from 10 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday, a yummy Sunday roast, and a vegan-friendly menu." The Torresdale Tavern is the latest venture for the C&C restaurant group. It is open from 12 p.m. from Monday to Friday and from 10 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. Farewell after 11 years. A much-loved restaurant manager has bid farewell after 11 years. Frank Gilsenan, who ran Roast It Bubbly Jocks in the city's party for the last decade, thanked his loyal customers, staff and friends for an incredible career as a manager. He said it was an absolute blast to work there, and features some photos of his memories there, including when singer Lewis Capaldi stopped by. Frank wrote, "So after an amazing 11 years as manager of Roast It's, I've just completed my last shift. I'd like to thank all the staff and most importantly the amazing customers for making it an absolute blast. I've been blessed to meet so many people that I'm now grateful to call friends. Hopefully the next manager isn't as cheeky and a little less judgmental. Thanks a million everyone. Frank Gilsenan signing off." Well wishes poured in for Frank, many of whom were gutted to see him go. One said, "Sad for all of us customers who'll miss you hugely. You're a class act with effortless style." And those articles were by Rebecca Newlands. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 28th of May, from the news section. What's on Glasgow? Young stars leap from City Fame School. After nearly giving up acting during the COVID pandemic, 23-year-old Kieran Lynch is ready to wow crowds at the King's Theatre. This article is an exclusive by Anne Fotheringham. As a young star in waiting at Glasgow's Fame School, Kieran Lynch regularly went to see big names on stage at city venues like the Theatre Royal and the King's. "To be back and in a professional show myself is crazy," he says with a laugh. "My training in Glasgow absolutely inspired me. It gave me the confidence to take things to the next level." The 23-year-old adds, "The dance school of Scotland at Knightwood Secondary was like the school from Fame. It was incredible. Normal school part of the time, then musical theatre classes. It was brilliant. I made friends for life." Kieran is starring in the acclaimed UK and Ireland tour of Greece, which will be at Glasgow's King Theatre from June the 17th to 22nd. Directed by Nikolai Foster and choreographed by former Strictly judge Arlene Phillips, it is a famous tale of teenage true love, trials and tribulations at Rydale High. The young cast includes stars Marley Fenton as the leather-clad cool guy Danny, and Hope Daw as sweet girl next door Sandy, and the score features hits such as Summer Nights, Greased Lightning, Hopelessly Devoted to You, and You're the One That I Want. Kieran, who recently played the title role in Peter Pan at the Edinburgh Festival Theatre, stars as Doody. The 1978 film version of Grease, starring John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, is the fourth highest grossing live-action musical of all time. But this version goes back to the show's early, grittier 1970s stage roots, he explains. It's a completely different take on it really from the film, which is more like a cartoon, says Kieran. This is fresher, a bit darker even. The sound is different too, a bit rockier, and audiences have been going crazy for it. More than 50 years on, Grease remains popular because it is still relevant, he adds. It's set in the 50s, when young people were starting a revolution, an uprising against the very rigid lives their parents lived in the 30s and 40s, he says. Rock and roll had arrived. The clothes were changing. There were diners, fast cars, sex and drugs and rock and roll. There's always been that dynamic between kids and parents or teachers, where the kids are retaliating against authority, hanging out with their friends. I think young people relate to that. He adds, and I think this version is more relatable than the movie, where you've got 30-year-olds playing teenagers. Grease is one of Kieran's first glimpses into the world of musical theatre, he explains. We had it on VHS and used to watch it as a family, he says, grinning. And there was always that Grease megamix that came on whenever you went to a party, so everyone knew the songs. But coming to it as an actor was completely different. I knew right away I didn't want to play Doody the way he's played in the film. Interestingly, the T-Birds in the movie are actually the Burger Palace Boys in the stage show. It was changed for the film because T-Birds sounded cooler, says Kieran, smiling. Doody is one of the Burger Palace Boys, a bit less goofy than he is in the movie. He's more of a younger brother, eager and enthusiastic, not really that cool. The tour will take Kieran all over the UK for the next 9 months, after which he hopes he will be London bound. He's excited about the Glasgow and Edinburgh dates, where family and friends are turning out to support him. Oh yes, the whole family is coming, he says, laughing. I can't wait. Edinburgh-born Kieran went to Arts Ed Drama School in London after leaving Glasgow. He admits he nearly gave up acting altogether during the COVID outbreaks and lockdowns. I was out managing a bar, planning to become a barber, he says, smiling. Then, about 18 months ago, I just decided to take a leap and jump back in, and it really worked. It's all been very quick since then. I was lucky to get Peter Pan and now Grease. Everything seems to be happening at the right time. He adds, I know a lot of friends who did leave the industry, and they are very happy doing different things, but I love what I do. I'm glad I gave it another go. And the article was an exclusive by Anne Fotheringham. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 20th of May, from the news section. Changes to planned £95 million development. Report by Esther Tarnay. Changes have been made to an impressive £95 million development plan in Glasgow, and locals are invited to have their say. As the Glasgow Times reported in March, consultation is ongoing for a residential and cultural hub in Colton. College Lands would be a new neighbourhood made up of 157 rented apartments, a 588-bed student accommodation, a park and an art facility. Developer Glasgow Enlightenment is to hold a second meeting on Thursday, May the 30th at Drygate Village Hall, inviting Glaswegians to share their thoughts. Ahead of the submission of a planning application, the company is looking for feedback on the latest changes to the proposal. These include reduced height for the buildings and the addition of roof terraces, benches, free Wi-Fi and charging points. Paul O'Donnell of Glasgow Enlightenment said, When we launched the first round of consultation in April this year, we attracted lots of excitement and interest from across the city. Now, as we get closer to defining our plans, we're keen to hear more about what local people think about the development. We listened when some concerns were raised about the height of the buildings, and we have acted to address this issue, reconfiguring the plans before submitting the final planning application in July. We also had some very productive chats with people about how they want to see the park develop, and we want to make sure that their views are incorporated in the master plan. The latest plans show the height of the BTR, build to rent, building being reduced following consultation. Both the BTR and student accommodation buildings also step down in height towards the park at the south to create an attractive roof terraces with views over the park and to reduce the visual impact of the buildings on the landscape. More detailed plans have also been made for the arts facility, which will be built by local charity Dream Machine Productions. It will now feature a modular design inspired by a traditional Glasgow bandstand with enclosed indoor space opening out into a courtyard. The courtyard space will have a happy to chat benches, free Wi-Fi, charging points and spaces that encourage outdoor remote working. And that report was by Esther Tarnow.
Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 28th of May, from the opinion section. This month marks 25 years since the Scottish Parliament was established. First election took place on the 6th of May 1999, and just 6 days later, rather poignantly, on the 5th anniversary of the late Labour leader John Smith's untimely passing, the new Parliament met at its temporary home, the Assembly Hall on the Mound, for the first time. I vividly remember the procession going up the Royal Mile to mark the official opening of the Scottish Parliament on the 1st of July 1999, as I watched it on television from my hospital bed in York Hill. Even though I was just 10 at the time, a child of devolution, I could sense that it was a significant moment in our nation's history. High hopes abounded for this new voice in the land, emboldened with the mandate of 3/4 of Scots who voted in the 1997 referendum. I am proud that the last Labour government delivered devolution for Scotland, and I am proud of what Labour achieved while in government in Holyrood. Free bus travel for the over 60s, free nursery places, the smoking ban, and unprecedented investment in our NHS, with nearly 700 extra doctors and more than 5,000 extra nurses, to name but a few achievements. Reflecting on a quarter of a century of devolution, it is clear to me that the Scottish Parliament has now cemented itself as the primary seat of political power in the collective consciousness of Scotland's people. Looking to the next quarter of a century and beyond, the Parliament must continue to evolve to meet its much larger workload and to more effectively hold government ministers to account. The committee system would benefit from the introduction of elected committee chairs, as well as devolving more power out of Edinburgh so that it is close to the people as possible. It is all well and good devolving power from London to Edinburgh, but we must devolve power into the varied regions of Scotland to truly unlock the nation's potential. Since 1999, health and social care has been by far the most important responsibility of the Scottish Parliament. To this day, it remains the Scottish Government portfolio with the largest budget. However, the last 17 years of SNP administration have not been good for the NHS. A staggering 820,000 Scots are languishing on an NHS waiting list, the worst record ever. 10,000 Scots are waiting for social care assessment or packages. And just in the last few weeks, the city of Glasgow has lost more than 150 jobs in health and social care services. The SNP tell us that they are putting record levels of funding into the NHS. But at the beginning of devolution, under a Labour administration, Scotland invested 22% more per head on health than England. Today, that gap has fallen to just 3%. In Labour-run Wales, however, they continue to invest more per head on health than Scotland, despite having a more limited devolution settlement. The SNP has been running the Scottish Government for my entire adult life, and our NHS is now at breaking point due to their incompetence. Whilst the new First Minister, John Swinney, wants you to believe he is the fresh leadership needed to turn things around, he's been at the heart of their mismanagement since the very start. After all, he was the Deputy First Minister tasked with getting the NHS back on its feet following COVID, but instead handed down £400 million worth of cuts to the health and social care budget. Since it first started, the Scottish Parliament has many policy successes, and undoubtedly it has been one of net benefit to Scotland, with 357 acts of the Scottish Parliament now on the statute books, a work rate that would never have been possible in the House of Commons. However, the SNP years in government have left the Scottish NHS in a perilous state. Time and time again, they have taken their eye off the ball on the vital matter of Scotland's health, preoccupied with their own self-indulgent constitutional Punch and Judy show. Donald Dewar's hope on that opening day in 1999 was that MSPs would never lose sight of what brought us here. The striving to do right by the people of Scotland, to respect their priorities, to better their lot, and to contribute to the common weal. Well, after 17 years of increasingly stale nationalist control, it's high time we had a reset of Scotland's Parliament and government to recapture the true spirit of that founding ideal. That was an article by Paul Sweeney. The Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 28th of May, from the opinion section. John Swinney can steer our country in the right direction. Since my last column, Scotland has a new First Minister, and I'm delighted that person is John Swinney. I've known John for many years, and he is hard-working, experienced and dependable, someone who is absolutely committed to delivering for all of Scotland. I've no doubt he's the right man at the right time, and like many across the SNP and beyond, I was glad to see him step up when our Parliament needed new leadership. There are, of course, many issues facing Glasgow and its people that I will discuss with the First Minister, and I'm keen that happens as soon as possible. Top of that list must be child poverty. I was happy to hear John reiterate, perhaps even more strongly than his predecessors, his personal commitment to eradicating this societal scourge. Addressing child and family poverty is one of the City Council's key missions and is a single shared priority which our community planning partners are united around. The pressures of a decade and a half of Tory austerity on already struggling and vulnerable households, on top of the most severe cost of living crisis in generations, ensure it's a national priority across all of Scotland. The substantive powers to lift children and families out of poverty, of course, lie with the UK government. Abolishing the two-child cap and radically reforming welfare system, for example, would transform the lives of millions for the better in an instant. But SNP policies like the Scottish Child Payment have been a game changer in our communities. Putting money directly into the pockets of families has helped tens of thousands address the impacts of poverty where it's most acute. I want to discuss with the First Minister how best to build on that and collectively drive forward our ambitions to empower people to change their lives. The Council and partners working on the front line in communities are helping transform lives through directly addressing the needs and challenges of individual Glaswegians. In the longer term, this work is as important as direct financial assistance, and I'll be asking the First Minister to expand the work of the Poverty Pathfinders and continue to resource and support Glasgow's efforts. It's crucial that we also discuss local government funding. I've argued many times that the particular challenges and additional costs of serving a city like Glasgow need to be acknowledged and compensated for in the same way that remote and rural areas have long been funded. Again, our services and citizens continue to feel the strain of UK government policies and mismanagement. To cite just one example, rampant inflation and asylum policy are huge contributing factors to Glasgow's housing emergency. But as we face the immediate challenge of a £100 million plus budget gap over the next 3 years and are forced to make cuts to education services to balance our books, we can't rely on any UK Prime Minister to change track. Absolute nothing suggests that's going to happen. As well as securing additional finances from Holyrood, it is essential that local authorities can invest resources in ways that best suit our local circumstances, and I want to raise that point with the First Minister. And I want to address the climate emergency, making the offer to the First Minister that Glasgow is part of the solution to the challenges that are holding back delivering our national targets. Directing national funding for climate interventions towards areas like Glasgow will not only deliver the biggest bang for our buck, but will also leverage the additional investment cities across the world are seeking to attract. We have a lot of hard work ahead of us. No one with political responsibility for delivering for our citizens is under any illusion as to the extent of our challenges. But in these uncertain times, there is no better pair of hands to steer our country than John Swinney. Readers' comments. Bill Anderson. The only place Honest John will lead to is his own retirement in 2 years and his handsome First Minister's pension. After announcing he would step down at the next Holyrood election, nobody could work out why he wanted the FM job. But there you are, money. Just another career politician profiting from the Holyrood gravy train. Stephen O'Malley, in reply to Bill Anderson. Now there's a surprise. One SNP numpty supporting another SNP numpty. Angus Mackay. Council leader Susan Aitken attempts to offload the blame for Glasgow's council declared emergency onto the UK government policies and management regarding asylum. None other than Councillor Aitken is responsible for the impact her own policies and management regarding asylum has greatly contributed to Glasgow's housing emergency. It was Councillor Aitken who demanded the Home Office send thousands of asylum seekers to be housed in Housing Shortage Glasgow, and asked for, in brackets, we will always have a home for you, close brackets, Afghan and Ukrainian refugees to be housed in Glasgow. Who next to be housed in homelessness Glasgow? Perhaps Councillor Aitken under the Gaza Scheme petition will be the first to offer Palestinian families homes who wish to join Palestinian families currently housed in Glasgow. Comment from Alex Saville. You got that right, Angus. Aitken and the politicians of all parties in Glasgow are fixated on solving housing problems for asylum seekers and refugees, while ignoring the needs of indigenous Glaswegians. Reply from Angus Mackay. Yes, Susan Aitken and her councillors only showed concern with homelessness in Glasgow when they were faced with the responsibility of finding homes for hundreds of asylum seekers, fast-tracked into refugee status. Only then did they declare a housing emergency. So far, I haven't read of any new fast-tracked refugees being homeless. Last comment from Ronnie Simpson. Another deranged rant from the woman who can't even organise the cutting of grass on public areas of my street. That was the end of the comments. Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 28th of May, from the lifestyle section. TV presenter will replace Lorraine Kelly on ITV's Lorraine. A well-known TV presenter will replace Lorraine Kelly on ITV's Lorraine for the first time. Masked Singer host Joelle Dommett will fill in for the Glasgow-born presenter on her show at the end of this week. It will be his first experience presenting the daytime programme, as Christine Lampard or Ranveer Singh usually stand in when Lorraine is off. He told the Mirror, I can't believe I'm going on Lorraine for 2 days. I love being a guest, and I'm so excited to be temporarily filling her wonderful shoes. It's the comfiest seat on telly by far, so I can't wait to sit on it for a full hour. Tune in for some wholesome morning niceness. Lorraine said, I'm so happy we can unmask Joel as the host of my show on Thursday and Friday of this week. He will be keeping my sofa warm for me whilst I'm away. This is the first for Joel, and I know he'll do a wonderful job. He's one of the best in the business, and I couldn't be more pleased to be handing him the reins for a couple of days. That was an article by Rebecca Newlands. Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 28th of May, from the lifestyle section. UK households can claim £170 refund on BBC TV licence fee. UK households could be eligible for a £169.50 refund on their TV licence costs. Every household in the UK is legally required to have a TV licence in order to watch or record live TV, regardless of what channel it is on. However, you could be entitled to a refund on the cost of your TV licence if you do not watch or record live TV and don't stream BBC iPlayer either. You can apply for a refund if you won't need your licence again before it expires, and you have at least 1 complete month left on it due to not watching or recording live TV. You can apply for a refund on the site tvlicensing.co.uk. That is tvlicensing.co.uk. Refunds are usually processed and issued within 21 days of application. However, your refund may be delayed if you have to be contacted for more information. Any refund will be paid by cheque or a BACS transfer directly into your bank account. The amount you will be due in refund will be worked out by TV Licensing, the organisation that issues TV licences. They explain how they work out the amount you will be due here. Any refund due is calculated in unused months. You must have at least one complete month left on your licence that you won't need it before it expires. So you could get a refund for between 1 and 11 months, depending on how long you have left on your licence. You won't be eligible for a refund if there is less than 1 month between the cancellation date and the expiry date. If you haven't paid for your licence in full, its expiry date may be changed to reflect what you've paid. When do I need a TV licence? You do not need a TV licence to watch streaming services like Netflix and Disney+, on-demand TV through services like All4 and Amazon Prime Video, videos on websites like YouTube, videos or DVDs. You do need a TV licence if you watch or record live TV on any channel or service, or use the BBC iPlayer. Am I eligible for a free TV licence? For those of us aged 75 or over who are in receipt of pension credit, the TV licence can be obtained for free rather than costing £169.50. Guidance from TV Licensing says, free TV licences are only available if you're 75 or over and you or your partner living at the same address are receiving pension credit. If you think you're eligible for a free licence but can't apply online, please call 0300 790 6117. That's 0300 790 6117, and speak to one of our advisors to request an application form. Our lines are open between 8:30 and 6:30 p.m. from Monday to Friday. Once we've received your application, it may take a few weeks to process. If there are any problems, we will write to let you know. We may also call you if you have given us your phone number. There are separate arrangements in place for over 75s on the Isle of Man, the Bailiwick of Jersey and the Bailiwick of Guernsey. That was an article by Joshua Searle.
This is from the Glasgow Times on the 29th of May 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, UK weather, heat waves and 30-degree temperatures forecast for June. This article is by Joshua Searle. It's time to break out the sun cream as, after a damp bank holiday weekend, forecasters are predicting things will heat up in June. The UK is set to experience 3 heat waves throughout June, with temperatures reaching highs of 30 degrees Celsius in some places. Much hotter temperatures are expected from Friday across the UK. However, it is also expected to be one of the wettest summers on record. Rain is predicted on 50 days across the 3 months of summer, which would make it the second wettest summer since records began, when it rained for 55 days. The Met Office's long-range forecast for the start of June says, early in June, conditions are likely to be more settled due to the influence of high pressure extending east over the country. A few showers could still develop in places, but for most it will be dry at the start of the period with plenty of sunshine. Feeling warm generally, though cooler near the coast where onshore breezes develop. Forecasters at Weather Outlook are predicting 30 degrees Celsius and a series of heat waves throughout June, coupled with the occasional showers. Brian Gaze from Weather Outlook told the Metro, June looks settled to start with and is forecast several fine spells, with bursts of very warm weather and potentially reaching 30 degrees Celsius for the first time this year. High levels of background warmth and warm sea surface temperatures provide added fuel for hot spells, but also rain at times. While a Met Office forecaster said that temperatures have more chance of being above the average at this time of year, between June 8th and June 22nd. This article is by Joshua Searle. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 29th of May 2024. From the news section, and the headline reads, Hidden Camera Caught Carers Mistreating Women with Dementia. This article is by Connor Gordon. 2 carers who neglected an elderly patient with dementia were caught after her family installed a hidden camera in her room. Bisola Akindin, 34, and Diana Otobohu, 39, mistreated Jean Loughran, 87, at Glasgow's East Bank care home on October 4th and 5th, 2022. The pair moved a nurse call alarm away from her and stopped her from being able to call for help. Carer of 4 years, Otobohu, went on to climb on top of Miss Loughran's bed and pulled the alarm box from the wall. The pair were also noted to dress Miss Loughran later that morning without washing her. They then went on to carry out inappropriate handling techniques on her as her arms were pulled. Matters came to light after Miss Loughran's daughter-in-law, Angela, 60, had a camera inside a digital clock in her room. Angela contacted the care home and claimed that she was watching the horrific events in real time. The incriminating hour-long footage led to the pair's suspension and eventual loss of their jobs. First offenders Akindin of Paisley and Otobohu of Glasgow Springburn pleaded guilty to a single charge of neglect. Sheriff Joanna MacDonald said, I had the opportunity to watch the CCTV and Miss Loughran was distressed throughout. She was old and very slight. There were a number of times she tried to get assistance and was shouting for help, asking for someone to come and help her. There were a number of times she did. I took account of the amount of people working that night. However, she is entitled to a level of care which was not provided by you both that evening. It is recognised you moved the alarm cord and took the alarm system from the wall, which caused Miss Loughran deep distress. She was banging on the side of the bed to get some assistance. This charge has devastating consequences for you both. You will never work in the care sector again with a conviction of this nature. The pair were ordered to do 216 hours of unpaid work. Glasgow Sheriff Court heard both carers were working night shift at the time of the incident. Miss Loughran, who has vascular dementia, was in a state of distress and had not taken her medication that night. She pulled the alarm cord, which activated it, and both attended her room. Miss Loughran's alarm cord was wrapped around its box before she was left alone in the room. The patient was then seen to make 2 separate attempts to reach the alarm cord. The patient made efforts to climb out of the bed on her second effort. Miss Loughran was later able to activate the alarm, but the video footage showed that she was naked from the waist down. The cord was then taken from her reach and her bed was put against the wall. Prosecutor Miriam Said said, Otobohu climbed on Miss Loughran's bed and completely removed the alarm from the wall. Later that morning, Miss Loughran was heard to shout for help and made an attempt to get out of bed. Miss Said said, it was noted that she was distressed for several hours during this night. Otobohu pulled her by the legs, so she was lying with them off the bed. Akindin was seen making hands and arm gestures to Miss Loughran. The pair were later noted to dress Miss Loughran without washing her. Miss Said added, they pulled her about by the arms, which displayed inappropriate handling techniques. Otobohu was then seen to restore the panic alarm to its correct position. Miss Loughran was also noted to attempt to reach a Zimmer frame, but fell back onto a chair due to mobility issues. Miss Said said, this prompted Angela Loughran to phone the care home and say she was watching events in real time. She attended the care home to tell them about the CCTV. She was informed to return with the USB. After reviewing the footage, Akindin and Otobohu were suspended pending an investigation. Mohammed Shuaib, defending Akindin, told the sentencing that his client was employed as a part-time worker who was supervised by full-time Otobohu. The lawyer added, she has shown remorse and realises what she did was wrong. She has no past history of doing anything like that. Mr. Shoaib also stated that the incident will have a bearing on whether his client will be able to remain in the country. Bob McDowell, defending Otobahu, told the court his mum of 3 client is now a cleaner. He said, "They were under severe pressure that night. There were 26 residents in the home that night. There were 2 carers responsible for the entire night. It is unfortunate that the patient did not take her medication that night and was under a somewhat distressed and sleepless condition. There was monumental distress and upset to her and her family and the potential for something to happen. My client reacted in the wrong way and accepts responsibility." This article was by Connor Gordon. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 29th of May 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "Probe into deaths of toddlers who died at Glasgow Hospital." This article is by Connor Gordon. A probe into the deaths of 2 toddlers who died at a hospital will take place in March next year. Caelan Newlands and Sonny Campbell died at Glasgow's Royal Hospital for Children on December 6, 2016. Caelan, who was 23 months old, and Sonny, aged 22 months, were not treated by the same doctors nor encountered each other at hospital. A preliminary hearing took place today at Glasgow Sheriff Court into the deaths. It was stated that the inquiry will last between March 17th and 28th, 2025. Fiscal Deputy Isabella Ennis told the hearing that issues are outstanding regarding the training records for junior doctors and information from nurses working at the hospital at the time. A further preliminary hearing will take place in August this year. The inquiry will focus on the circumstances of Sonny and Caelan's deaths, with particular focus on guidance, training, the medical assessments of the children, and whether the children should have been assessed by a senior doctor or consultant. The purpose of a fatal accident inquiry includes determining the cause of death, the circumstances in which the deaths occurred, and to establish what, if any, reasonable precautions could have been taken and could be implemented in the future to minimise the risk of future deaths in similar circumstances. Unlike criminal proceedings, FAIs are inquisitorial in nature and are used to establish facts rather than to apportion blame. This article was by Connor Gordon. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 29th of May 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "River Clyde search dog who helped Glasgow families has died." This article is by Rebecca Newlands. A hero search dog who has helped Glasgow families for over 10 years has sadly died. Springer Spaniel Barra worked as a victim recovery dog on the River Clyde since he was a young pup until his retirement last year. The country's only underwater sniffer dog, the 13-year-old managed to retrieve bodies in the water, bringing closure to Glasgow families with missing loved ones. His owner and trainer, Ian Marshall, has made the sad announcement that Barra has been put to sleep after a short illness. He said, "It's with great sadness I have to make this post. After a short illness, I had to make the decision to put Barra to sleep. Words cannot describe the pain I feel at the moment, but I know deep down it was the right decision for Barra." Barra devoted his entire life to helping others right up to the age of 13 years, which is remarkable in itself. I would like to thank each and every one of you for the support you have given us over those years, to which I am very grateful for. Barra and I have such a special bond together, and I can't imagine life without him anymore. I would also like to thank Rachel and everyone at Mackenzie Vets for the care and compassion Barra received over the years. I'm forever grateful to each and every one of you. The Glasgow Times previously spoke to Ian about his experience raising and training Barra and how close it made them. He said, "I'm so proud of Barra and the amazing work he's been able to do. We have such a tight bond between us, and when I've not got him with me, I miss him and feel sort of lost. It's so great working with him over these years because we can just read each other's minds. We work as such a great team." It was also revealed that a motion had been put forward to induct Barra into the European Animal Heroes Hall of Fame as a recognition of his contribution to search and recovery. This article was by Rebecca Newlands. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 29th of May 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "Search underway for missing Glasgow man who vanished." This article is by Rebecca Newlands. A search is underway for a Glasgow man who vanished 2 days ago. Mark Hodgkins was reported missing from the city's East End on Monday, May 27th. The 44-year-old is described as 6 foot 3 inches in height, slim build, short dark hair, and wears glasses. When last seen, Mark was wearing a dark hooded jumper, green top, and dark coloured trousers. Inspector Scott from Shettleston Police Office said, "I'm appealing to anyone who might have seen Mark or may have information on his whereabouts to get in touch with us. Anyone with information is asked to contact the police by calling 101 and quoting reference number 3533 of May 27th, 2024. This article was by Rebecca Newlands.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Q and Review and to tell your friends about our service.